But let's talk real quick since we're talking about keeping up with the Joneses. I saw in the chat last week, people are concerned that if Scottie Fox is successful, he'll be another C.J. Donaldson. I just want to address that and get your thoughts. He's won a couple games, started maybe 2 games. Not so fast. I mean, the market is for guys that have been playing ball for a year or two in Power 4. Now, if he has a great year next year, absolutely. There's going to be a market for him. But I don't think the end of the season, I think you're going to have to, renegotiate this contract and look at him a little bit. But just cool down and don't worry, guys. They're not. I think and you said it, Mountaineer fans are higher on him than everybody else. So, what are your thoughts with Scottie Fox? I mean, he's going to be the quarterback next year. I really think so. But unless someone else comes in that just blows the doors off him, but.
Yeah, I think he is our leading candidate. There's no doubt, especially if he finishes out this season strong. I don't look for Khalil Wilkins to bow out. He'll still be there to compete, and we've got others coming in. All this and certainly Max. Oh gosh, I'm Max Brown.
Yeah,
he's not going anywhere either.
So
we've got. What's that?
He throws the ball well. I think he's a really good quarterback.
So for whatever reason that Max hasn't made the field this year, I don't see him leaving. From what little we saw of him, this is a guy who wants to compete. He's there's I've heard a lot of positive things about him. I guess what I'm really getting to is, look, I've been a Scottie Fox fan and I don't see that changing. Do I think he's ready to go to a bigger program than WVU? No, I don't. Rich has probably done a lot to, I don't want to say simplify the offense, but they're working the offense to his strengths and to those who are playing. Scottie's probably more valuable to us and to this program than he is to others. And that's probably the best way to say it. Now, I'm not downing Scottie. He's fantastic. I hope we keep him here. I hope that next year he continues to develop. And again, the nice thing about Rich's system, it's not one that necessarily we're going to be able to attract the right players for this system. And I think we should be able to hold on to them and afford them with what we can pay out. Those that will leave, they were probably going to leave anyway. And the nice thing is, you're seeing the success that we can have in this system. What was Scottie at the beginning of the season? 3rd, 4th string?
4 or 5.
There you go. Running back situation. My word. Hubbard, hats off to that guy. He has been running hard these last 2 games. He's really come on, and he got injured early in this game, and he stuck it out. So I guess my point there, I think Scottie, I don't look for him to leave because this offense, Rich, is really good about keeping the right players in the right places and in his system. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing, and this might not get a lot of fans happy, but C.J. Donaldson leaving to go into Ohio State is not a bad thing, okay? Because guys that are maybe a 3, pushing 4-star, that have a chip on their shoulder, you can get their foot into the door at West Virginia and be like, listen, this guy transitioned, he made like whatever the amount of money he made in his NIL. Even if you can't pay him or be competitive to pay these C.J. Donaldson what he wanted, I mean, it puts a name out there that West Virginia is a decent program for developing talent. Much like Beanie Bishop. Beanie Bishop came from Minnesota. Minnesota's not like a stepping stone school, but he came from Minnesota to West Virginia, and he was very successful with the Steelers, had 4 interceptions last year. Of course, he was released this past week from the practice squad. But I mean, not everything is glass half empty. I look at it as a glass half full. But there are recruits. I was just watching Mountaineer Paul earlier today, and he was talking, or yesterday it was, he was talking about Kevin Brown wearing West Virginia gloves during a playoff game in Harrisburg. Now, I don't take as much weight into that, and I know he was texting him back and forth, and they had a little dialogue, but once again, these are 17, 18-year-old young men, and there's a lot of folks chirping in their ear. So he's not signed yet, and he's not wearing blue and gold yet. He's just wearing the gloves. So, I mean, I was just saying glass is half full. I mean, but you have to be cautious and not jump to conclusions, because, once again, many a times we thought recruits were going to be, Mountaineers, and it just didn't work out. But Eric, any thoughts on recruiting, on maybe like Rich Rod bringing in really good recruits to the Texas Tech game to watch the Mountaineers maybe get their teeth kicked in, or be the upset, the underdog story, right? That'd be a big thing, right?
Absolutely. And by the way, I completely agree with your take on recruiting in general. And that is, I've heard a lot of, it's kind of funny because I've heard it both ways. If you look at what we entered this, what is wrapping up now is this season, 82 new players, and my goodness, so many injuries. So it is it's a very fluid situation. The idea that we have moved up so quickly in the recruiting talent so quickly, I think is a very positive thing.
Right.
I'm not going to get too hung up on rankings just yet. And I've heard you got to have, top 20. I think the best we've really ever had was top 20. As long as we are pulling in the right players for this system, we get a good mix, which you're seeing now, not just transfers, but high schools, players coming in that can be brought up in the system. Because I think if you bring them up in the system, you have a much better chance of holding them in the system. The last thing I'll say on this is that, we've had a lot of players come in who, and this is not unique to us. It's really everywhere. You can have players come in that a lot of people passed on, but if they're the right player in the right system, you look like a genius because they do amazing things. You combine that with the notion that the overall level of talent is improving, it's only going to get better. And the last thing is, don't fall in love with that 5-star one recruit that you've got to get. Not to pick on anybody, but we've had 5 stars here before, not a lot of them. And some have worked out and some have not. And so, the idea of just because something is flashing, just because it has a Gucci label on it, doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to be, the right fit.
Yeah, the brand has to fit the purpose. I mean, you're so right, Eric. I agree. With these recruits also, I'm going to talk. This is a football show, but I'm going to talk briefly about basketball. I watched Tucker play ball at Indiana, and he was lighting it up. And however, I was watching the Mountaineers play. They have won 3 games against like mediocre teams. They have not looked super polished. Mm-hmm. Hoping that kind of before Big 12 play starts, or before the 13th when they play Pitt, that kind of, once again, West Virginia's coach is doing a great job of bringing in talent. On paper, they look like world beaters, but right now, I just don't see it. I just don't see that. They just don't look as good as they did last year, beginning of the season. But give it some time. Just like with Rich Rod, boy, it went from the slums to like at least we have like a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, efficiency. We're not pooping in a compost toilet right now, but call me November 30th after Texas Tech. Now, Arizona State is coming. The coach was just saying that Rich Rod coming into town, don't overlook them, singing the praises of Rich Rod. I know if it was the old West and Rich Rod was an over the hill gunfighter, you're not going to take it lightly, no matter how slow or fast he was or is. He might get concussions playing pickleball. It doesn't matter. He could be concussed and still coach a decent game. Is that just like coach's version of pillow talk, coach talk, like propping everybody? Or does he I think he legitimately thinks that, listen, they're going to come in here and they're going to knock our teeth in. They want to. So I really think that's legit, because Arizona State, they've lost a few games they should have won. But
So, great question. Where was one of the schools where Rich coached before he came back? Came exactly Arizona. How do you think Arizona State remembers those games against Rich Rod as an institution? Probably not terribly fondly. Rich had a lot of success there at Arizona. And, he turned that program into one to be respected when they were back in the Pac-12. So I don't think they're taking him lightly. And kudos to Deion Sanders. That guy is doing a great job. He is really, really fighting a lot of different fronts in his coaching career right now. But he paid some respects to Rich. He didn't have to do that. Now, he and Rich go way back, back to Rich's first stint here at, WVU. And so, Deion didn't have to do that. He could have just said a few words, but he didn't. Real quickly, too, I wanted to touch back on something I forgot to mention with the Texas Tech game. We said there's two things to be great that are great scenarios if you're trying to pull in recruits. One is if we pull off the upset, are you kidding me? Kids will be signing right there. Exactly. The other thing is if you can show recruits, hey, look at this environment, look at the stands. This isn't, exactly the season we hoped for, but look at how these fans are turning out. Look at what we are able to do. And imagine if we had you and your talent here working hard, contributing. You could be part of the reason that we turn the corner with this program. Both of those are great sales jobs. Oh, Rich is brilliant at that stuff. So hell yeah, bring him in for the Texas Tech game.
Yeah, because here's the thing. I never miss an opportunity to take sprinkle a little poo drop in his own pit. Listen, guys. Game day's coming to Pitt for Notre Dame. Notre Dame fans are going to be in Acrisure Stadium. You're still going to see those blazing yellow seat backs. There's going to be empty seats. They're not going to fill it. I don't care if what's happening for game day. Aside from Pat McAfee having someone kick a field goal for $250,000, and credit to Pitt, they're having a hell of a good year, but they just don't get the turnout. And, it's unfortunate. Now, backhanded compliment finished. So with the Mountaineers, the only concern for the Texas Tech game, student section is usually a little bit on the anemic side around the Thanksgiving break. Now, I know kids might be just coming right back from Thanksgiving break. I don't know when the break is before, the week before maybe. Some kids might be coming in for that. I saw a post where, kids can stay in their dorm room Saturday night. If they stayed for the game, they can move in a day early. That's great that they're doing that, but I really don't see a lot of, students attending this game. I used to go in, I'll always come in for these games and see a basketball game and a football game within like 3 days. Have that window. It's like the sweet spot. But it's still going to have that good energy, maybe a 6 or a 7, but not like a 9, not like a Pitt game.